Travel Research Online is pleased to bring you this webinar today. You can compete with Costco Travel. We're here today with Dan Chappell, the wealthy travel agent. Dan is a thought leader in the industry. He's held multiple roles within the industry, both on the supplier side and on the retail side. He is a consultant now who helps travel professionals grow their business. He's going to tell you all about the ways that you can connect with him. And most importantly today, he's going to tell you how you can compete with Costco Travel. Dan, welcome.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for coming to join us today. I know these are some pretty trying times in our industry. And, you know, I want to throw that out there. We're not going to shy away from, you know, the coronavirus that's going around and how it's affecting your bookings and your retention. We're going to talk about that. So, you know, we're going to approach this today a little bit differently than if you've attended my webinars in the past. Normally, I'll go through and do a whole shtick and then do some teaching and then kind of share a little bit about, you know, how to work with me. Today I want to do it a little bit differently. We're going to go through, we're going to talk about why you're here. That is how to compete with Costco for sure. But we want to, you know, I know that you're being affected by the coronavirus. I know you're getting cancellations. I know you're getting a lot of questions. And so I want to spend more time at the end on that, addressing the, you know, the needs that you have. We have a platform. We have over 1,000 people that have signed up for this webinar today. So it's a good place for us to chat about that. And, you know, I'll share with you what I can from a strategy standpoint. And but you know, there are ways that you can work to help mitigate your losses on this. And I think we should probably get that out there because a lot of people are panicking about all of this. Let's get going here. So the name of the presentation today is You Can Compete with Costco. And so there's a couple things I want to ask of you today. First of all, I want you to take notes. And I want you to ask questions. And Lee will address these as we go through. I'm going to ask you some questions as we go through as well, and you can click a Y for a yes and no for no, or whatever, as if you'd like. Show of hands, doesn't matter. But I would like for you to, you know, this is an interactive thing as much as possible, so as we can on a webinar. So if you have any questions, there's no question that's too dumb. Be sure and put it into the notes, and we'll address it as you go. Take notes. You know, if there's something that comes up that you know strikes a chord with you, write it down. Write it down. It's important that you do this because you're going to need to learn some of these techniques to help you grow your business going forward. I'm going to ask that you keep an open mind. You know, this is something that may be counterintuitive to what you've been taught in the past. I mean, one of the things that we're taught heavily right now, and always in the marketplace, is about marketing, right? Well, I'm more of a sales coach, a sales teacher, and particularly in today's environment, your selling skills are so much more important than they've ever been. Not that they haven't been important, but they're so much more important because you have to use those to retain business that you've already sold. So keep an open mind, because some of what I'm going to share with you today might be a little different than what you've been taught in the past. Here's a big one that you know, you're not going to win them all. You know, you're gonna, you know, when you're competing with the Costco's of the world, you're gonna get some business. You're gonna lose some business out of this. You know, no question. The point is to make sure that you know what business is worth keeping and fighting for, and that's those that's worth walking away. And to be able to come to that conclusion quickly is pretty important that we want to get there. And lastly, if you want to get results from this or anything else that you're doing in your business, you want to commit to taking action. You know, you can't just attend this webinar. Oh, I've learned a little bit, and then boom, when the phone rings and somebody says that they've reached out to a Costco thing, and then you go into panic mode and don't follow through with what you've learned today. That's not going to help. So you want to be commit to taking action and be ready for that call when it comes. So question for everybody here: how many of you are Costco members? I know I am. I live 7 miles from Costco's world headquarters. For us, Costco is the same to us as Super Walmart is to a lot of people around the country, particularly in the down in the Southwest and Texas. That's your grocery store, that's your convenience, that's everything, the everything store, and that's what Costco's are around here. But what do you buy at Costco? What do you buy? Most people, the number one selling thing at Costco, number one item is toilet paper. We buy toilet paper because that's the last thing in the world we want to run out. Water is a big item there. Gasoline is always there. The lines are usually back out of the drive-in area whenever I go. So I go at 7 o'clock in the morning. I drive 7 miles to go to Costco to get to gas because it's almost 70 cents cheaper there than I can buy it anywhere else. So do you do that? I mean, think about that. So for those of you who are Costco members or BJ's or some of the other warehouse clubs, think about that. Think about your membership, because we're talking about going to get items that we normally would have bought at a local store or a local grocery store or a locally owned down the street gas station, things like that we're not in the habit of doing that as much anymore. So let's talk about some myth understandings about the Costco member, because I hear this a lot, particularly when I'm speaking at events. The Costco customer, the Costco member is not my customer. All they're looking for is price, and they're just shopping, and that's it. Well, let me just throw that one out the window. As of 2018, roughly 25% of the entire adult population in the United States has Costco card. So I'm betting that most of you, at least a quarter of you on this call, they have that as well. And demographically, it's your ideal client. It's the baby boomer. It's the 55 plus, over 100K in income, and they own their own homes. This is our customer. It's exactly who we are. But they've been conditioned over the lifetime, thanks to Walmart and a lot of other things, but to look for value, look for price, so they look for price first, value second. But the fact of the matter is, most of us, once we look into it, we're really not as focused on the price as we are on what's the best value, what's the best service, what's the best product out of this, not just vacation, but what's the best thing that's going to come from me. So those are the facts that kind of dispel those myths there. The last one is that most people don't think they can compete with Costco Travel, and Costco or Costco Travel, depending on what your business is. And the fact is, you can. You can do it. You just need a systematic process to do it consistently, so that you can look at it and say, okay, I'm close on this, I'm better on that, there's no way I can touch that deal. So you let it go, just like you do with any other client that you have out there, or prospect that might be calling you up to work with you on that. Does all that make sense? Excellent, good. All right, so today's agenda, we're going to talk about, who are you really up against? It's not just Costco. There's a lot of other folks out there. Why do your prospects use membership organizations to buy things, book travel, whatever it may be? Then we'll talk about the 5-step system that I've used to compete with Sam's Club, Costco's, the BJ's throughout my entire career. And we've implemented it at the agency that I own. We implemented it when we opened the first Expedia Cruise Ship Centers retail franchise in the U.S. And here in Bellevue, Washington, which is, we're in Costco land here, but it allowed us to compete and thrive. And so I'm going to share that with you. The Wealthy Travel Agent Inner Circle, I'm going to not go into all of that a lot. I'm just going to kind of tell you what I do and how I can help you. And you know what? If you think we're a good fit and what I have to offer is good, let's talk about that a little bit. But lastly, I want to leave plenty of time at the end to do any Q&A that we have. Again, this is extraordinary times that we're in. Just know this, we will get through this. We have been up against medical issues before, terroristic issues before, economic issues before, and as an industry, we have survived. But you can't play the victim here. You've got to be out in front of it and work the relationships with your clients and be, this is your time to shine. more than anything else. And so we'll take your questions and see what we can cover on that. All right, let's jump into it. Like many of you, I started out with a dream and a passion to deliver the same high level of service that the client expects on their vacation during the booking process. I started out working on cruise ships. That's most of the problems that I found back in those days was that were tended to be travel agent related. It's not so much the case today because you're much more informed. Travel agents are much more informed about the cruise products and things like that. But I wanted to provide the same high level of service during the booking process and afterwards that they expected on their vacation, a seamless process. And that was something that wasn't happening. And, you know, and to a large extent, it's not happening today, but there's different challenges and different reasons for that. As I said, you know, the challenges you're experiencing today have been ongoing since, you know, the industry started, basically. You know, they're medical, economic, terroristic. There's all sorts of world issues that come into play. That's the business we chose. So we have to either step up and deal with it, or we have to, you know, let it put us away. My experiences in you know, throughout my career have led me to build a very successful travel company, and I was recruited into senior roles after we sold the company into Cruise Holidays, which is part of the Travel Leaders brand, and Expedia Cruise Ship Centers when Expedia purchased cruise ship centers and opened up in the United States a few years back. And lastly, I had the opportunity to go to work for Windstar Cruises as their vice president of sales back about, probably 8 years ago now. And we were able to almost triple travel agent sales at that time. So, you know, great experience in the industry, great products. I am an entrepreneur, first and foremost. I'm an experienced, that's the key. There's a lot of business coaches, a lot of people in the industry that really don't have a lot of experience, that are, you know, hanging up their shingle and claiming to be, you know, business coaches in the industry. And that's great. But this is what I do. This is what I've lived my entire career. And so I'm focused on helping entrepreneurs like you create sales-focused businesses. So that's enough about me. Let's get going here. So rebating, let's talk about rebating. We're like, oh man, they're giving all their commission back. They're doing this. That's old news. That's been going on since the 70s, probably even further back than that. So we can't sit here and complain about rebating, you know, until the suppliers decide to take definitive action. And they have some, you know, they've done some things to mitigate that and to maintain their pricing integrity, but it's not going away. Even the lines that say, you know what, we're not going to work with agencies that rebate, you know, there's nothing to stop that agency from writing a check back to the consumer afterwards. That happens. So this is always going to be happening out there. So we just have to accept it and deal with it. The players are what changes, though. It's funny, when I was thinking about this, is, you know, a lot of the rebaters, discounters, whatever you want to call them, over the years have faded away. They faded away because the margins aren't there to sustain it long term. So let's not waste our time complaining about it. It's part of it. Let's move on. And you can compete with the Costcos of the world without breaking the bank. And it's important to understand that you can do that, because you've got a set of customers out there that really want to do it. So who are you actually competing against? You know, you've got the vacation clubs that are out there. You've got, you know, the big organizations like Travel Leaders, In Cruises. That's a club. That's a people pay to be part of a club and get discounts on there. You've got direct marketing organizations like Pay Vacation Travel and things like that, you know, they're the ones who, you know, it's kind of, you call it multi-level, whatever you want to call it, but there's as many ways to sell travel as there are ideas to do it. And ICE is, you know, it says powered by innovation there. They're a cool company because they take the value of a timeshare and turn it into a vacation. There's the franchise organizations like Cruise Planners and American Express, and then your online programs, and then those like Avoya who provide leads. So and then there's the direct business. So, you know, your competition isn't just the warehouse club. It's not just these guys. It's not just Costco. You know, AARP is a huge competitor to yours, whether you know it or not. BJ's Wholesale is mainly on the East Coast. You know, these are the more prominent ones, but everyone that we've talked about here is actually competing for the sale. So what's the purpose of a membership organization? Well, they're paid memberships. You know, we pay a annual fee to be a member to shop there. And they're in the business of selling memberships. Everything else they do is a benefit to the members. So travel and gas, even toilet paper, that's not their primary product they're selling. They're selling memberships there. Now, what's attractive to it to suppliers is exclusivity. You know, there's exclusivity to a closed membership list, so they can offer things specific to that membership that typically they could not do to the general public. And granted, this one's in the millions, their list is in the millions, which is another predicament that they have, which really boils down to basic economics. And you're going to see that right now. You know, there's a price to fear, and we're going to get there. We got there after a number of events, particularly 9/11. We found people didn't want to travel, but you know, once it hit a certain price point, boy, they were all over it. You know, and so we see that, and that's going to happen. We're not there yet. This is going to get a lot worse than it is right now before it gets better. But you got to be out in front of it and keep going. So the basic economics is they got to put butts in beds, and they're going to get their net rate regardless of how much you sell it for or how much Costco sells it for. And you know, a lot of them are reluctant to, you know, clamp down even on their own rules with, you know, these big high volume producers, because they fill their ships, they fill their resorts, they fill their hotels. So a lot of times they're reluctant to enforce their own rules, and you know, because they're fearful that they may, you know, turn off the water spigot and the water stops, and you know, those beds are empty. However, there are a number of suppliers, particularly the smaller ones, who choose not to do business with Costco Travel. Even Viking, I believe, is not doing business with them now because they can't really afford the market disruption. They want to maintain the price, maintain the integrity, maintain the opportunity for you, so they choose not to do it. At WinStar, at the time, I don't know if they're there now, we chose not to do business with Costco because we couldn't afford to lose our base. The travel agent base is the biggest seller of travel, period, in the world. So, you know, the risk of alienating that distribution system is something that most choose not to do. And a lot of times you'll see when you get into this, things will be packaged a little bit differently so it looks like it's their own. But that's the supplier predicament that they do. So why does your client call Costco in the first place? You know, why would you do this to me? You know, we take it personally, and I get it, because it is personal. You know, business is personal. Doesn't matter what you do there. So why first and foremost, they're curious. You know, we've all, if you're a Costco member, BJ's, whatever it is, and you've checked out, you know, you're walking the gauntlet out to, you know, walk out of the warehouse, and they've got all those benefits that they sell stacked up along the way. It's like going through the, you know, if you ever gotten off the ship in Ocho Rios and you've got all the people trying to sell you stuff. That's what that kind of feels like there. You know, they've got, you know, they're trying to sell you gutters, they're trying to sell you heating and air systems, blinds, travel, you know, sign up for this, sign up for that. All of these are benefits. So what happens is your customer, people you've been working with, your prospects who are members of these organizations, they get curious about that. They get something in the mail. You know, that's another thing. Costco sends out monthly mailers with deals in them, and so you get those, as well as AARP is big on that as well. You know, why do they call? They feel like they need to get their money's worth. When I say that, it's the money's worth for the membership fee that they paid. And we tend to focus on individual things. Okay, how much am I actually saving on toilet paper? And you do a mental calculation in your head as far as what your value is there. So there's always the feel that they need to support. Think about it. When you pay to be a member somewhere, do you prefer to do business or prefer to go to their events and prefer to do things like that? Exactly. We do. It's just human nature. There's the warehouse value, and I left out an apostrophe there, but there's that concept that you're getting the best deal. You know, toilet paper. You know, why do we buy 140 rolls of toilet paper? Because it's a good value. You know, how long does it take us to go through it? It might take us 2 years, doesn't matter, but it's a good value. So it's the mental thing there that we're getting the deal by calling them as well. And here's one that I think a lot of us overlook is, you know, they've actually, you know, they do a good job. You know, they're not all, you know, it's not just all price driven. They have a lot of very satisfied customers out there, and so, you know, a lot of them have been recommended by friends and family. So it's up to us not to ever disparage them when we're doing competitive quotes, because they've got a positive connotation of them, and competition's, it's not great, but it's going to happen, and that's our business, and that's the world we've chosen, so that's what it is. But I want you to think about one thing. I asked you if you were a Costco member, and we talked about the different values. We talked about why people call them. Why, if you weren't in the travel business, would you consider buying your vacation from Costco? I mean, think about that. If you're buying your toilet paper there, or you're buying your gas, or you're buying your mayonnaise, or whatever that you would have normally bought at a local convenience store, local supermarket, local gas station, but they're cheaper. These are consumables, they're cheaper. Would you consider buying your trip there? Put yourself in your client's shoes as you go through there. So, here you are, you're plugging away, you've been working with your folks there, and you've got some great quotes going out, and you've got a great rapport going on, and all of a sudden you get that call. Geez, I called Costco, and this is what Costco had to say, because I was walking out through that exit door down there and running the gauntlet, and this is what they, so I was curious, so I called to see, and this is what they told me they could do. You ever got that call? Well, if you haven't, you will. You will. It's just a fact of life. It's going to happen. So you get to the point here where you got to decide yes or no. Okay, are you going to fight to keep that client, or are you going to let them go and book their trip with Costco? And in a lot of cases, in most cases, the answer is it's worth fighting. It is worth fighting to keep that client in there. And so there's a couple things you need to do. Get your head in the right game. Is think about the confidence that you have in yourself and your ability, and what you can do for your client, and control. You have to control the conversation. You have to control the client. Same thing with what you're dealing with right now with the coronavirus. Is you're getting people panicking. They're making emotional decisions. They're calling you saying, I want to cancel my trip in October, December, next year, whatever. Who knows what's going to happen? This thing's only been going on for 8 weeks now. Okay, who knows what's going to happen? But they're panicking, and so they're emotional about making emotional decisions. So we have to take control of that. And you know what, we got to say, I think you need to sit tight. It's not going to hurt you. You're not under any penalty. You're not going to lose any money. Nothing's going to happen. Let's sit tight, because I don't want you to make a decision that you might regret down the line. Okay. That's how I would approach a lot of the calls that you're probably getting right now. But all of that stems from being confident in what you're doing, but controlling the situation. That's our role. We have to take control. If we let them, if they're controlling it and they're just telling us what to do, I don't even know why we do what we do. They could do that online or something else, but they've come to us for a reason. And they've come to us for our expertise. They've come to us to handle it, and we need to handle it, and give them good, sound advice as to what to do. So the first step when you're dealing with Costco or the coronavirus or whatever is simply remain calm. Don't panic. You get that, those jitters, you get things tied up, and don't panic. Take a deep breath, calm down, and then just chill for a second. Just take a moment to gather yourself. You need to do this. You should expect every single quote that you give, whether you've gotten it from a friend, family member, online, through a Facebook group, doesn't matter what, you should expect it to be a competitive quote. That's just the way the industry has trained the consumer over the years, is they're going to shop it. Okay, so you should expect that. So don't get, and as I said earlier, don't get defensive. Don't speak negatively about the club, or whether it's Costco, AARP, BJ's. It doesn't matter who the competitor is. Vacations to go. Don't speak negatively about that. Say confidently. Say, hey, you know what? That's great. How does it compare to the vacation we're planning together? Or this is what I can do for you to really help take care of you. And we'll talk more about that in a minute here. So that's step one. Step two is get the facts. The travel deals at warehouses and actually, all the online stuff, they're very limited. They're limited in the suppliers. They're restrictive, usually to certain dates and certain carriers and certain, you can't make a vacation your own. It's like buying the toilet paper off the shelf. Okay, that's what it is. It's been packaged as a commodity product. Okay, and people don't like that. In fact, Lee, you just had a recent experience you were sharing with me about. Why don't you take a minute and share that real quick?
Yes, absolutely. And, so being in the travel industry for so many years, I do understand the value of travel advisors. But I've been to Hawaii several times and I wanted to take my daughter there in December. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to shop Costco and see what they've got because, I've been to the islands. I kind of know what we're looking for. And so I went on their website and I searched and I started coming up with, really some high price options, but more so I came up with ambiguous descriptions and knowing what I know about the travel industry, I knew that I needed to look at the fine print because there's all these resort fees and everything. But, at the end of the day, I mean, I was just so frustrated because I knew I wasn't seeing quality options. I was very limited, just like you said. There weren't a lot of options. I felt like what was being given to me was just being shoved down my throat. It was sort of a take it or leave it type thing. So, I abandoned the idea altogether, but, I was out there shopping and I was tempted and I was looking. And so I understand that mindset of why people do that.
Well, and I think what you found is, it's a great deal until it's not. And that's, I think, something that we need to do a better job of communicating to our prospects when we're doing this. And that it gets kind of down to what, benefits really aren't benefiting anybody if they're not important to the customer. So, you may have wanted a Ritz-Carlton type hotel and they're putting you in an outrigger. That may have been the difference, kind of thing. The package isn't going to fit your needs, but you can't make changes to that. You have to fit it. It's like fitting, a square peg into a round hole. It works for a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, because a lot of people do this. But for most people, the vacation package is something that they want to remember. It's something that they work their lives. They're going. They want it. It's an experience, and we have to help them realize that as part of what we do. So when we talk about benefits aren't really benefiting them, a lot of the things that you know are thrown in these days are the unlimited beverage package, you know. But is that really a benefit if you're not a drinker? I'm not a drinker, so it doesn't benefit me to get a free beverage package. I'm looking at it and say, well, what's the value on it? So, unless I have the option of adding something different that is important to me, well, then, I'm probably going to turn and walk away from that because I'm going to and get a negative feeling about that. And you need to ask the questions when you go through these packages, when you're getting information from your customer, because you got to ask them, why is this important? Now, you need to flat out, when they tell you that we've shopped Costco or whatever, you need to ask them specifically, what does the package look like? What are you getting? Because I can guarantee you 9 times out of 99.9% of the time, it's not an apples to apples comparison. It's an apples to oranges. And most of the time, the orange is rotten. And so you want to get into a point where it's, you're fulfilling the customer's needs for what they want and what they need. And a lot of times we need to tell them that. But you want to verify the information. So the information they give you, a lot of times they're not going to be totally, upfront with you on stuff. So, but you need to verify that information. So if you're not a member, you should become a member. Buy the minimum package so that they put things on the front website, but in order to find out exactly what you get with it, you got to log in. So I would advise you to do that. And don't worry about matching dollar for dollar or same amenities or anything like that. Don't worry about that right now, because remember, we're talking about if there's benefits there and you're trying to match a benefit. Well, if it's not important to the customer, well, it's not a benefit. So we have to work on that. So we want to gather the facts to make sure that what we're going to do next is going to, give a good comparison and show a good value and a better thing for us to do there. So you need to know what's in your toolbox. What do you have to work with? And you need to do this well before you get that call. You need to know what their offerings are. Subscribe to the lists. I would subscribe to Vacations to Go list as well. You'll see what's out there. And so that you'll be familiar when you do get the call. You'll have somewhat, you may not know all the details, but you got somewhat of a familiarity about it. It's about being cognizant of what your competitors are doing. Not focused on them, but cognizant. You want to check with your host or your consortia for any group blocks, any additional amenities, anything like that is there to offer, because that's a big plus. If you're not a member of one of these groups, you're missing out. I'm a huge fan of and supporter of agents being part of a host agency or consortium. Yeah, it may cost you a commission split. Yeah, you're going to give up some, but you're going to gain so much more in the long run. Now, is the same fare that you're being offered, is that they're showing you, is that being offered publicly? Because if it is one that many suppliers will match. What they won't match is the discount that's coming out of commission, or the gift card, because all that's coming out of commission. Remember, Costco's not in the business of selling travel, or AARP, or they're in the business of selling memberships. So everything they do is a member benefit, and so they're going to do what they can to provide the best benefit to the members as possible. And when they're giving out gift cards, well, those got to be spent at that location or in the warehouse as well. So you need to be cognizant of what the credit card benefits are. So a lot of people out there get American Express Platinum or Centurion card for the travel benefits. Well, as of about 3 years ago now, it's getting to be old news, but Costco doesn't accept American Express. So for me, that's what I use. And if I'm not getting my, my cruise privileges benefit of shipboard credits and bathrobes and all that kind of stuff when I go cruising, or upgrades in hotels and stuff, I ain't going. So I'm using the benefits that I have, because same thing, back to the same mindset. Am I getting the value out of my membership? Well, I pay $600 a year for my American Express Platinum benefit. I use it for entrance into the Delta Sky Room. I use it for a lot of things, but I'm also looking at it, am I getting the value of it against other travel that I do? Visa, MasterCard, Discover, they all have travel benefits that you should be aware of. And if your customer doesn't have it, say, hey, you know what, if you have this card, I can do this for you or that for you, because you can apply. This is another thing that a lot of folks don't know. American Express benefits are a member benefit. They're not an American Express agency benefit. So you can actually have those provided to your clients' bookings. So it's a great thing to do. You just have to register for it, and it'll work for you there. Ask for help. You're sitting there at home or in your office, and you've got this situation coming up, and it looks like it's something you want to pursue. Ask for help. Reach out to your host agency, reach out to your consortia, reach out to your local business development managers. Everyone has a vested interest in here. Bonuses are based on territories and accounts. So make sure, use those. That's another tool that you have in your toolbox that can help you get closer onto the price or the benefits or the total package that you need to compete with the Costco's of the world. Step number 4 is prepare and compare. Because the reality of it is, you may not be as far apart as you think. And if you see this worksheet, I'm going to walk you through it here real quick. But if you go to danchappelle.com/Costco, you can download this. It is a Google sheet. Basically, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and all you got to do is just plug in the numbers there, and it'll tell you what you need to know. But you got to ask the questions in order to do this. So, you may not be as far apart as you think. Let me just run through this real quick. For instance, you're looking at Vacations to Go is not a closed list. It's an open list. So if they're advertising a price that's out there, most suppliers will match that. Most suppliers will. Not all, but most. Disney won't, but pretty much the cruise suppliers and some of the other tour companies will do that. So as long as it's a publicly published price, okay. If it's a behind the wall price, well, no, they're not going to do that. So you see in this case with the Holland America ship, the Nordam, it's the same price. Okay, taxes are the same. Shipboard credits a little bit different. Costco's offering a little bit more, because what they're doing there is doing it through their commission. And in this case, the price difference is $90 per cabin. Per cabin now, not per person, $90 per cabin. Okay, so this is based on total price. Same thing with the Star Princess over here. Same prices, same everything. The difference is the shipboard credits are higher. Okay, so there's $165 difference. So that's not a huge difference. And even the Royal Caribbean ship there, the Vacations to Go has a better deal than what you would get through Costco. So where we are here, down there, that bottom line there, it says difference, that's called the ZOPA. That's the zone of opportunity for agreement. And in my experience and in my opinion, if you're within a $500 of total value, okay, total value, you should be able to sell your services, sell your value, prove to your client that it's worth it for them to pay more to have you as part of their vacation experience. Okay, it's not just a price-driven thing. And as you can see in this case, these are Alaska sailors. This is not a huge difference at all. For 150, 200 bucks, that's 100 bucks a head, 50 bucks a head. People will not even flinch at that for the most part. And if they do, you know what? They're probably not your customer. Okay. And if you feel like you need to keep them, it's close enough that you can go to your consortium or your host or your BDM and help get a little bit of extra credit or something to get you closer on that. So, which brings us to step number 5, which I alluded to, is you've got to make yourself an indispensable part of the package. You know, you have to learn how to communicate your value to them. You know, the why. Why should they book from you? Right now, let me tell you, right now, those of you who have customers booked, right now is a perfect time to start proving your value to them. You know, they're panicking, they're making emotional decisions. You need to pick up the phone and call them and tell them, calm down, panic, I'm on top of it. I'm your travel advisor. I've got this handled here. When we need to deal with it, if we do need to make some decisions on it, I'll let you know. That's taking control, taking charge of that. You know, you think about it, you know, it's an emotional decision that they're at. If you're on a ship, I worked in the purser's office, people come up all the time complaining, crying, whining. You know, you got to calm them down, take control, use the sales skills that I've been teaching for the last 5 years, and go back to some of the webinars on TRO, or go to my YouTube page and watch those videos, because you're going to use, now more than ever, you need to utilize the sales skills that you've learned over the last few years to control and maintain and keep those clients. You don't want them walking away. You will prove your value to them now, which will translate into lifetime value down the road. You want to, at the same time here, you know, back to the Costco part, you want to emphasize the benefits that are of importance to the prospect, not the ones that's necessarily being offered by Costco, whatever. Remember, this is not a Costco bashing. Costco's doing what they do because they're allowed to do it by the suppliers. So, you know, until that changes, we've got to work within the confines of that. Now, how do we do that? We do it through salesmanship. We do it through, the fact of the matter is this: you call Costco, it's like calling Delta Airlines. You're going to get a different person every time. You got to explain it every time. You got to explain all the stuff. So that's a benefit. You know who you're dealing with and how you're working with it. And lastly, close the deal. You know, if you let them go back and fester, it's easier to not make a decision and revert back to price than it is to say, you know what, we're going to go with the value here. We see that this, this person, this agent is looking out for us, is going to make sure that we're taken care of, making sure that, you know, our insurance is going to cover what it needs to cover, making sure that everything, all the ducks are in a row, and if there's any issues, we'll be on top of that and let us know as we go. That's how you prove your value there. So you need to close the deal now, because you may not get the opportunity to do that. So you got to ask for the credit card. So there's a 5-step process here. Don't panic, take a deep breath. You need to get the facts. You got to know what you're up against. You can't just blindly go in. It's like going into, you know, a fight with one hand behind your back and on, you know, one leg tied up. You got to know what you're competing against there. You also need to know what your options are. What are your resources? What are the resources available to help you build a package that are going to get you there? Compare and finding the ZOPA. You know, get into that, what we call the zone of opportunity. It's a negotiating term, and it's from the Harvard Business School negotiating project that they have. But the zone of opportunity for agreement. Once you get into that zone, there should be no reason why you can't make that deal. From both sides. Both sides should be agreeable to that. It's just a matter of getting to that point. And learning to communicate your value, and more importantly, becoming an indispensable part of that package. You're just as important as that cruise line stateroom. You're just as important as the seat on the airplane. You're just as important as the transfer, because you're pulling that all together. And that is, and this is something, you know, you've got to practice this. It's something that's not going to just come all together. So what are some key learnings we have from this? Well, you want to take advantage of the resources that you have at your disposal. Okay, you want to learn what those are, have them ready, and in front of you so that you don't have to scramble for them. You want to learn how to communicate the value of what you're going to do for your customer. And like I said, right now, this is prime time, baby. You're right in a opportunity where the chips are down, pick them up and prove that value to your customer there. Practice the system. You know, the first few times you go through this process, it's cumbersome and it's going to take you some time. You're going to think you screw up, but you know, you just got to keep doing it. It's repetitive, and the more you do something repetitive, it becomes habit. You're not going to think about it, and it's going to be fast, and you can use it for all. You should use this for all your competitive quotes. That sheet I have you download, you can use that for anything. Any competitive quote, whether it's against a Costco or an ARP or the travel agent down the street. Use it that way. Here's a key one here. The last one is what you're going to learn from this is when to walk away. Remember I said in the very beginning, you're not going to win them all. You got to learn when to walk away. You know, think about this. For every 10 leads you get, you may give 6 quotes and make 3 or 4 sales. Well, what's that? Out of the lead, that's 30 to 40%, you know, closure rate. That's pretty good. That means you've lost, you know, 6. So it's okay to let things walk away. It's okay. If it doesn't make good business sense, it's okay to let it go. That makes sense? Write these down. Take a screenshot. You know, these are some key learnings that come out of this. Now, we all know who this is. Tom Brady. They call him the GOAT, greatest of all time. But, you know, as far as a quarterback goes, he's won more Super Bowls than any other that's out there. Love him or hate him, he's done very, very well. But the fact of the matter is, you know, he wouldn't be where he is today without a good coach. And he's been partnered with Bill Belichick most of his, I think, his entire career. They work well together. They feed off of each other. Whether it's an athlete, a business person, a salesperson, all of the ones who truly excel work with a coach. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about what I do as a coach, as a business advisor. And again, this is not a sales pitch or anything. I'm just going to, you know, if it's something that's of interest to you, you think it's something that might help you, please reach out to me. I'm happy to have a conversation with you about this. I help travel professionals. I help you overcome objections. I help you build sales strategies that are going to 10x your sales. What are 10x? 10 times where you are today. It's proven fact that according to LinkedIn studies, that anybody who works with a coach typically will 7x their sales on average. Well, we don't want to be average. We want to be better than average. I don't want to be average. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be average. So we want to 10x our sales, 10 times what they are. If you're doing 100,000 worth of sales today, you want it to be 1 million. Okay. What you have to do, though, is have systems and processes to get there. So I have group coaching programs. My inner circle, which was formerly known as the Power Players Club, is a monthly membership. It's got the sales acceleration system course in it. It's got all of the planning templates. It's got how to, you know, improve your insurance sales. Insurance sales is a key thing for you to learn right now. If nothing else, join for that. It's a video that tells you the best way to increase your insurance sales, which your margins on insurance is considerably higher than it is on the rest of travel, so it's worth it to get into that part of the business. Then quarterly, I offer my signature program called Secrets of Selling to the Affluent Traveler. It's a course. It's mainly for experienced agents and those who aspire to sell high-end luxury, expedition, small ship cruise, things like that. That's what that's geared for, and I offer that once a quarter. Personal development. You have to apply for this. So I work with companies, I work with individuals on an advisory standpoint, you know, for their overall businesses, and then individual coaching. But you need to go to danchappelle.com/coaching. You'll see a little bit about what I do there and schedule a 20-minute free consultation. If there's a bunch of questions you have to answer, but if you qualify for that, then we'll decide whether we can work together. The basic 6-month program starts out at $489 per month. There's other programs on top of that. And then if you're here, if you've got an agency of any size, I do corporate on-site and webinar sales and management programs. I work with a lot of companies. AAA is one of my bigger accounts. I work with a number of clubs there to do a lot of the on-site programs for them. So that's what I do. That's how I can help you. Again, this is not a sales pitch, but this is just what I do. And if you think that I can help you, then please reach out. Go to my website, danchappell.com, and I'm happy to have a conversation with you. This is what it looks like. These are some of the folks I've worked with and helped over the years, and look forward to having you join me there. As many of you know, I wrote a best-selling book. It's available on Amazon called Get Your Ship Together. It's still 3 years. I mean, it's become like the go-to how-to for selling travel. It's available in paperback through Amazon.com, Kindle, and also on audio via Audible.com. Knowledge is power, but it's useless unless you do something with it. I shared a lot of information with you today. I wanted to wrap this up. We're actually about 15 minutes early, 12, 15 minutes early, so we can open this up for questions. Knowledge is power. What are you going to do with what you learned today? What are you going to do to help maintain? You know, we're in a tough time, man. There's no question about that. We've seen tough times. You know, we've seen 9/11. We've seen H1V1 or H1N1. We've seen avian flu. We've been through, as an industry, we've been through a lot of this, but we've come out ahead. We've come out ahead. The main thing is we have to keep our heads. You know, while others are panicking, most of your peers are out there panicking. You got to keep your head. Don't add fuel to the fire there. You know, it's important that we do that. And it's important that we practice those sales skills that we've learned, because that's the power of retention. It's taking control of your client, telling them what's best for them, and then helping them make the right decision when the time comes. Not an emotional decision, but the right decision when the time comes. So, Lee, we got plenty of time here. We're usually running over, but I want to make sure we left at least 10, 15 minutes or so to answer any questions about the program today, issues that you might be dealing with as part of the current events that we have that are hitting our industry. And I'm gonna just open it up to you there, Lee.
Great. Well, thank you, Dan. We've got some terrific questions here, and we're just going to jump right into those. So what is your opinion when a client books somewhere else and then comes in and wants to book travel associated with the trip? Do you turn them away?
No, absolutely not. You know, I would ask them, you know, why they booked travel somewhere else. Because, for instance, it might be, let's say it's a family reunion, and one family member is in charge of booking the whole process. You know, putting a group together, but yet, you know what, one of the family member wants to deal with their own travel agent, or they want to book it direct themselves, or whatever, you know, as part of that. They can't typically be part of the group if they do that, but you know, it happens. People are more comfortable with who they work with. So I would say, yeah, you know, I would ask them, okay, so what's this all about? Why did you book it there? Well, you got a great deal. Well, maybe you can help with that. If you want to do the ancillary travel, what that does is they're buying something from you. They are buying, even if it's just insurance. You know, I don't sell travel anymore. I mean, I'm a coach in it, but I sell insurance. That's you know, there's huge margins in that. And main reason I do it is because it's easier to do it, to sell the insurance, to maintain the licenses that I have, than let them lapse and have to redo them. But you know, it's a benefit that I offer to my coaching clients is you know what, you can book your insurance through me. I'll pay you 20% of the commission, and I just keep the rest just for, you know, to help me maintain my thing. But it allows you, you know, so they're not buying the travel from me, they're not selling the travel through me, they're just buying this piece of it through me sometimes to benefit their customers. So absolutely, jump all over that. I would do that in a heartbeat. Don't let them walk away, because that opens up the door down the road. If you overserve them with the part that you are doing, man, they're going to be a lot more likely to come back to you next time around.
Mm-hmm. Follow up on that, we had a couple people asking about what insurance company you like. Are you using Travel Guard?
Well, I'm not actually. I use Arch Roamrite. There's a lot of companies out there, and you know what? The reason I'm using Arch is one, they're a top-rated company. Two, there's no minimums. So with most agencies, you have to guarantee a minimum number of premiums each year. And you know what? I'm not a travel agency. So I can't do that. So and I've got a great relationship with Arch Roamright. They've done very well for the folks that you know, that have booked it through us, and they paid the claims out very promptly. I'm very pleased with them, and you know, their commission rates are very competitive. So yeah, I mean, that's who I work with. But you know, there's a lot of great insurance companies out there. So work with the ones that either are through your host, your consortia, or through, you know, in Canada, you got Manalife. There's a number of them that are out there that you work with. The one thing that I would try to avoid, if you can, when it comes to insurance, is supplier insurance. And you know, on that subject, a lot of them are coming up with some very flexible cancellation policies. Their cancellation is not giving the money back right now. It's more, we're going to give you a credit so that they can travel later when this all passes, and that's okay. That makes things a lot more flexible. But you know, in the insurance that's provided through the suppliers, they're typically self-insured for a lot of it, particularly the trip cancellation part of it. But it, you know, only typically pays 10%. So if you can sell the equivalent or better than policy, then for, you know, 2 to 3 times what you're earning off of that, that's what you want to do. I've never been a fan of supporting the supplier insurance, but I will say this, in this day and age right now, it's something you want to take a good look at. It's not because they have poor policies or anything. It's because economically, when you only pay 10% versus, you know, 20 plus, that me as a business owner is going to gravitate to the one that does better for me. And that's why these third-party insurance companies have done extremely well over the years. But you know, when you're looking at future credits, stuff like that, something to consider.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Groupon, we didn't really touch on that, but that's kind of a disruptor in the industry as well. And there was a question about your thoughts on Groupon.
Well, you know, somebody that's going to buy a deal on Groupon is the same guy that's going to buy something on, you know, on Costco. The problem is, the difference is Costco is more of a retailer. Groupon, they're paying up front for whatever their deal is. I wouldn't bother with it. I just, you know, that's one of the, be cognizant of what's going on out there with them. I think, you know, here's the thing, when times are tough, when there's a lot of beds to be filled, then the suppliers will turn to other sources, more creative sources. Groupon is one of them. You know, direct business is one of them. There's a lot of different channels that they use. I don't want to sound like I'm skirting the question. It's just one, you know what, Groupon's not one I've given much thought to, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think you should
Okay.
either. You know, if somebody's called, well, I got a Groupon on that, well, fine, you know, if that's what you want. But again, it gives you a quick opportunity to decide whether you want to do business with them or not.
Right. A lot of people are asking for the link again to that download sheet. I don't know,
Very
can you go
simple.
back? Or, yeah.
danchappelle.com/Costco.
Okay, that is simple.
Yeah, wanted to keep it simple. It's just, it's a simple worksheet that you just plug numbers into, and it'll spit out at the bottom there what the difference is in the, you know, you use this for all your competitive quotes.
Good. I like it. And I guess so there were a lot of people that commented about the rebates and the gift cards and how enormous those can be sometimes, and the difficulty of competing with those. But I guess this worksheet will definitely help put all that in perspective.
Exactly. That's what this will do, is when you put it down on paper and you can compare it against what you've got, you're going to probably find that you're not as far apart as you think. You know, odds are pretty good because they are technically rebating. You know, there is going to be a difference, and they're probably going to have a cheaper price than what you have. But you need to look at what the package is and versus what the customer really wants, and that's where it is. And you know, because people will pay more as long as they know they're getting good value. They're kind of, a lot of times they just kind of use that Costco package as the barometer. Okay, this is what Costco will do it for, and this is what they're going to provide. Okay, but this is what I want. So where do you fall in there? And you know, a question I would always go back for is like, okay, so if you want me to match that program, what are you willing to give up? What's the least important thing you're willing to give up to get that price, or to get close to that package?
Yeah.
And they're going to say, I don't want to give up anything. Well, Now you've got, this is the hotel you're going to be in, or this is the cabin you're going to be in. This is what you're going to have. Now, to be fair, you know, there's some stuff. I think the biggest example I've seen is probably Oceania or Regent or somewhere like that. It's, you know, they give away the farm. You know, I mean, that it's tough to compete with those. But I think for you know, most of the products out there, you've got a very good shot at getting the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Okay, I have one coronavirus question for you, and then two about your program, and then we'll wrap it up. So,
Okay.
what do you advise telling clients who have a cruise booked in the next few weeks and they're worried about getting stuck in quarantine on the ship and or unable to get home?
Well, that's actually, it's a great question. One, trip insurance, don't know, you need to check with the trip insurance, but see how they handle trip interruption, because if they're, let's say they're quarantined on board and it goes on, that's an interruption. You know, what you may be able to do, and this is one of those situations where you may say, you know what, maybe we should wait. Maybe we should wait until this passes. Depends on where they are, though. You know, I mean, if the cruise is, you know, in Asia, or, you know, which I don't think anybody goes there anymore, you know, you don't do it. If you're going to South America, you're going to Europe, it would, you know, they're not sailing out of Italy anymore. They're not calling in Italy. There's a lot of, you know, you just follow the restrictions. I wouldn't be that concerned about it, particularly if they're healthy folks. You know, for the most part, you know, I'm mid 50s. I'm in great health. I'm my doctor said I'm virtually no risk at all. It's folks that have other issues, like ancillary things like respiratory issues already, or health issues that affect other things to them. This is just, it's just like the, you know, the effect of the flu is magnified when you have those issues. Same thing here. You know, what do you tell them? I'd ask them, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And then here's my advice is, you know, don't not go because of what if, because the what if probably isn't going to happen. You think about all the ships that are out there sailing right now, okay, because they're still sailing. They may miss a port here or there, you know, particularly in Asia, which is why they don't go there anymore, and they've moved the ships back out. But it's you know, it's business as usual on board the ships. They're more cognizant of cleaning. It's, look at, my advice to you is go to the World Health Organization, CDC, and even CLIA, and see what their stance is on this. Don't look at Fox News, don't look at CNN, don't look at anything else. Look at what theirs is. And I can share with you right now, I believe as of last night, you know, there's very few travel limitations. So I wouldn't be very concerned about that. A lot of times, you know, back, I used to, when I was working on the ships and we have a delay where we had, you know, like Hurricane Andrew, we had to spend an extra day out at sea. Hey, you know what? You just got an extra day on your vacation. And, you know, take a positive approach to it. Not flippant, but do a positive spin to it if you can. I don't think people have much to worry about, you know, frankly, but, you know, I guess the question is, where are they going? You know, I mean, if it's like, you know, the Mediterranean or something, I wouldn't worry about that. You know, as I said, everything's going business as usual. You've only seen a couple of delays and quarantines that have happened. I wouldn't anticipate anything like that happening.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. So let me preface that.
Yeah. Okay, I know we need to wrap it up, but I want to get these two questions in just real quick. I might even combine them. How long is the secrets of selling to the Affluent Traveler program? And what do you get, what benefits come with the $79 monthly Circle Club?
All right, so I'm going to start with the $79 a month. So I have a program called, it's a sales program. When I first started, people joined my program, my selling to the Affluent class, because they wanted to learn more about how to run a successful sales-oriented business. So I built this program out and included it in a membership. So you get it's a 8-module program, six module program. that goes through, building a solid foundation, choosing your niche, everything else from there, attraction marketing, prospecting, the selling process, follow-up, client retention marketing, as well as scaling your business out from there. The core of it, that's the course, but there's business planning templates. See, everything's focused around your sales strategy. You shouldn't start out with a marketing strategy. You need to start with a sales strategy because everything else feeds in to that. Everything else supports that. So I've got templates and documentation and stuff like that. I've got training videos on, how to double, triple, quadruple your insurance sales, how to do an online cruise night type of event. All kinds of videos and resources and stuff that are in there that's part of that. The most important thing, this is something we started a couple months ago, is we do a monthly hot seat. It's a live mic. You got something, you just raise your hand, you get on, you said, kind of like we're doing right now, except the agents actually unmuted, asking the question, I answer, we'll get peer feedback as part of that. So it's almost like a mastermind. I mean, it's a really cool thing. It's been really popular, and that's one of the things we started doing once a month, and participation has been great there. But just basically everything that I do, all my training programs, everything with the exception of Secrets of Selling to the Fluent Traveler is included into that $79 per month. Now, the second part of your question is the Secrets of Selling to the Fluent Traveler. I teach you how to identify who they are, how to approach them, how to sell to them. And it's all about relationship selling and things like that. That's all part of that. But I'm not teaching product here. I am teaching you how to find those clients that travel either in a luxury style, they're going expedition, they're doing small ship. Affluent travel isn't just rich people. There are people that aspire to do that, and those are actually the bigger audience out there. And so I teach you how to find that as part of that. This program typically pays for itself with just 1 or 2 sales. That's it. What you learn from that, 1 or 2 sales. And this is a program, and I've updated a couple times. I've done this since I started 5 years ago. This is by far the most popular program that I have, and I was only offering it twice a year, and folks have asked me to do it quarterly, so I'll be offering it again in April. So just click on when you go to my homepage, just click up there on programs in the header, and that'll take you to the waitlist page, so you can sign up for the waitlist for that.
All right, Dan. Well, thank you. This is terrific as always. Love working with you. Everybody, will put the replay on our website at travelresearchonline.com and be in our webinar section. I think you'll also find it out on Dan's website. And if you check the question box, you'll see that I put the link there to get to the Costco worksheet. I think some of you were having trouble with that. So with that, I think we can say good day and conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming, and please check out the Wealthy Travel Agent podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. Just Google it, and you'll find it. It's there.
And it's great. I've listened to several episodes and loved it. So great, for when you're on the go. So anyway, goodbye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks for coming, guys.